Cato was in the decline of life. A crowd of orators, all younger than himself, made their appearance at the same time. For Aulus Albinus, who wrote a history in Greek and shared the consulship with Lucius Lucullus, was greatly admired for his learning and elocution, and nearly ranked with him were Servius Fulvius, and Servius Fabius Pictor, the latter of whom was well acquainted with the laws of his country, the belles lettres, and the history of antiquity. Quintus Fabius Labeo likewise excelled in the same accomplishments, but Quintus Metellus, whose 4 sons attained the consular dignity, was admired for his eloquence beyond the rest. He undertook the defense of Lucius Cotta when accused by Africanus, and composed many other speeches, particularly that against Tiberius Gracchus, of which we have a full account in the annals of Caius Fannius. Lucius Cotta himself was likewise reckoned a skillful speaker, but Caius Laelius and Publius Africanus were allowed by all to be more finished orators. Their orations are still extant, and many serve as specimens of their respective abilities. But Servius Galba, who somewhat preceded either in them in years, was indisputably the best speaker of the age. He was the first among the Romans who displayed the proper and distinguishing talents of an orator, such as digressing from his subject to embellish and diversify it, soothing or alarming the passions, exhibiting every circumstance in the strongest light, imploring the compassion of his audience, and artfully enlarging on those topics or general principles of prudence or morality on which the stress of his argument depended. And yet I know not how, though he is allowed to have been the greatest orator of his time, the orations he has left are more intimate and have more the air of antiquity than those of Laelius or Scipio, or even Cato himself. Their beauties have so decayed with age that scarcely anything remains of them but the bare skeleton. In the same manner, though both Laelius and Scipio are greatly extolled for their abilities, the preference was given to Laelius as a speaker, and yet his oration in defense of the privileges of the sacerdotal college have no greater merit than any one that might be named of the numerous speeches of Scipio. I think that's Scipio. Nothing, indeed, can be sweeter and milder than that of Laelius, nor could anything have been urged with greater dignity to support the honor of religion. But of the two, Laelius appears to me to be less polished, and to speak more of the mold of the time than Scipio. And as different speakers have different tastes, he had, in my mind, too strong a relish for antiquity, and was too fond of using obsolete expressions. But such is the jealousy of mankind that they will not allow the same person to be possessed of too many perfections. For, as in military prowess, they thought it impossible that any man could vie with Scipio, though Laelius had not a little distinguished himself in the war with Virathus. So far, learning, eloquence, and wisdom, though each was allowed to be above the reach of any other competitor, they adjudged the preference of Laelius. Nor was this the opinion of the public only, but it seems to have been allowed by mutual consent between themselves. For it was then a general custom, as candid in this respect as it was fair and just in every other, to give his due to each. 22. I accordingly remember that Publius Rutilius Rufus once told me at Smyrna that when he was a young man, the 2 consuls Publius Scipio and Decimus Brutus, by order of the Senate, tried a capital cause of great consequence, for several persons of note having been murdered in the Saline forest, and the domestics and some of the sons of a company of gentlemen who farmed the taxes of the pitch manufactory being charged with the fact, the consuls were ordered to try the cause in person. Laelius, he said, spoke very sensibly and elegantly, as indeed he always did, on the side of the farmers of the customs. But the consuls, after hearing both sides, judging it necessary to refer the matter to a second trial, the same Laelius, a few days later, pleaded their case again with more accuracy and much better than at first. The affair, however, was once more put off for a farther hearing. Upon this, when his clients attended Laelius to his own house, and after thanking him for what he had already done, earnestly begged him not to be disheartened by the fatigue he had suffered, he assured them he had exerted his utmost to defend their reputation, but frankly added that he thought their cause would be more effectually supported by Servius Galba, who possessed talents more powerful and more penetrating than his own. They accordingly, by the advice of Laelius, requested Galba to undertake it. To this he consented, but with the greatest modesty and reluctance, out of respect to the illustrious advocate he was going to secede. And as he had only the next day to prepare himself, he spent the whole of it in considering and digesting his cause. When the day of trial was come, Rutilius himself, at the request of the defendants, went early in the morning to Galba to give him notice of it and conduct him to the court in proper time. But till word was brought that the consuls were going to the bench, he confined himself to his study, where he suffered no one to be admitted, and continued very busy in dictating to his what is that word? I can't say it. Amanuenses, several of whom, as indeed he often used to do, he kept fully employed at the same time. What is that word? Amanuenses. Amanuenses. I can't say it. Oh, well. While he was thus engaged, being informed that it was high time for him to appear in court, he left his house with the animation and glow of countenance that you would have thought he had not only prepared his cause, but actually carried it. Rutilius added, as another circumstance worth noticing, that his scribes who attended him to the bar appeared excessively fatigued, from whence he thought it probable that he was equally warned and vigorous in the composition as in the delivery of his speeches. But to conclude the story, Galba pleaded his cause before Laelius himself and a very numerous and attentive audience, with such uncommon force and dignity that every part of his oration received the applause of his hearers, and so powerfully did he move the feelings and ensure the sympathy of the judges that his clients were immediately acquitted of the charge, to the satisfaction of the whole court.